From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, security gang. Welcome to another episode of the CyberHub Podcast. We have a busy show for all of y'all today, so let's get the ball rolling. If you haven't subscribed, please make sure to do so right now. Join me for a tradition on the CyberHub Podcast, my double espresso, coffee cup cheers, y'all. So for those of you that have kind of been keeping up with the news, there's been a lot going on in terms of kind of data breach class action lawsuits. And what's really funny is these class actions in cybersecurity, unlike anything else, have been getting settled really, really quickly. So in Pennsylvania, healthcare provider Lee Valley Health Network experienced a data breach back in February of 2023. That's only 18 months ago. Subsequently, a class action lawsuit was filed, which was just settled. And it was settled for the tune of a $65 million settlement to the victims of that specific data breach. Now, mind you, this is a double kind of victim approach here, because Lee Valley in itself was a victim of a crime. And then as a result of that crime, there were a secondary level of victims, which were the individuals whose healthcare information and healthcare data was compromised. And the only people making money, lawyers and hackers. Don't you love it? Lawyers and criminals. That seems to be a common theme in this life. The information compromised was names, addresses, phone numbers, medical and treatment information, health insurance information for specific individuals. That also included email addresses, driver's license numbers, social security numbers, and banking information. The group also stole clinical images of patients during treatment. That was for a specific group of patients whose images were actually part of their medical file. And so all in all, healthcare data, by the way, just so you kind of get an understanding of, one, ransomware on a healthcare organization is by far low, right? Like we can all agree that you don't target 6 people as a general rule of thumb. However, in this specific situation, gang, there's something a little different. Healthcare information is sold on the dark web. I mean, at the entry level rate is $50. That's 50 times higher than a social security number. That's 30 times higher than a credit card number. So you can really make money in healthcare. And if you're wondering about the healthcare costs and the skyrocketing healthcare costs, part of that is this type of fraud. Just an FYI. So just kind of keep that in mind there. So all in all, this class action lawsuit was settled in 18 months, which, by the way, record time. An average class action lawsuits in these United States takes anywhere from 3 to 4 years to get settled. This was done in 18 months. So keep that in mind. Let's get into, yesterday, day before yesterday was Patch Tuesday. Obviously, yesterday we did a recap of Patch Tuesday, but there's more, a whole lot more. The Adobe Acrobat Reader vulnerability that we talked about yesterday, that was CVE 2024-41869er, is actually a use after free bug when the program tries to access data in a memory location. This causes unexpected behavior like crashing or freezing. However, there's a proof of concept exploit that was discovered back in June by cybersecurity researcher Hai-Fei Li that detected that this could lead to a 0-day. And Hai-Fei is urging people to please patch your Adobe systems. Right now, it's a low complexity type of attack that could give people access to your memory. So having said that, make sure you get that patched. Intel, on their end, published their advisories covering 20 different vulnerabilities found in processors and other products, including Atom, Exxon, Pentium, Celeron, and Core series products. 11 vulnerabilities were affecting the UEFI firmware for some server, workstation, and mobile embedded processors. More than half of the security holes were assigned a high severity rating, simply because if exploited, they would allow for local privilege escalation and denial of service attacks that could lead to information disclosure. The company also informed customers about some processors being impacted by an information disclosure flaw related to the running average power limit interface. All in all, you want to make sure you get your Intel systems addressed. If you're a GitLab shop, you may want to pay close attention to this one. The Community Edition and Enterprise Edition of GitLab received a critical patch that was released. This is for versions 17.3.2, 17.2.5, and 17.1.7. That GitLab employs two main types of patches releases, one to address security and bug related issue, and a scheduled released and ad hoc critical package patches. This one specifically has a major security component to it. The critical vulnerability could allow an attacker to trigger a pipeline as an arbitrary user under a specific condition. The issue affects all GitLab versions. It has been addressed in the latest release and has been assigned to CVE 2024-6678. Another high severity issue involved incomplete input filtering that could permit code injection into a connected kube server. This vulnerability affects only specific versions, that's 16.11 to 17.1.7 and 17.2 to 17.2.5 and 17.3 to 17.3.2, and it's been assigned CVE 2024-8640. There's also a server-side forgery request and a job token as well, session token, all there. So you want to make sure you get your GitLab environments patched up right away. Get with the product owners, get with your DevOps team, and make sure you get this addressed ASAP. Cisco also joined the festivities of one day, all vulnerabilities disclosed, because, nothing ever bad could happen from that. 8 different vulnerabilities in the iOS XR network operating system were fixed, including fixes for 6 high severity bugs. The most severe of the flaw is CVE 2024-203-9-8, has a CVSS score of 8.8, and it's an insufficient validation of user argument. The iOS XR passes to specific CLI commands. There's an additional bug. This one impacts the mtrace2 feature of iOS XR that could be exploited remotely and without authentication. It causes a denial of service condition. That's CVE 2024-203-04. So all in all, you want to make sure you get that patched. If you haven't checked out our Substack, please make sure to do so right now. Go to jamesazar.substack.com. Exclusive writing only there. A lot of ideas. And again, big one right now is what's happening against X in Brazil and Telegram in France. And additionally, we're seeing that, by the way, the presidential montage on cyber is coming. Unfortunately, one campaign has been less responsive. We've given them a deadline until tomorrow noon to provide us with the information. Otherwise, we will proceed with them as being non-responsive. So just an FYI. So hopefully we'll be able to drop that episode next week. Attackers are weaponizing an ancient version of a Microsoft Word in a recent wave of attacks on a Taiwanese drone maker that we talked about yesterday. It's delivering malware aimed at espionage and disrupting military and satellite-related industrial supply chains. The researchers from the Acronis Threat Research Unit discovered the attack that they've dubbed Word Drone. It's using a dynamic DLL side-loading technique common in the installation process of Microsoft Word. They install a persistent backdoor called client endpoint on infected systems. The Acronis team members discovered the unusual attack vector when they investigated a customer escalation from Taiwan. The files were brought to the system. A legitimate copy of WinWord 2010 assigned www.lib.dll file and a file with a random name and a file extension they wrote in the post. They act as a loader for the actual payload, and then the one residing inside the encrypted file with a random name. It has similarities to the TI drone, the one that Trend Micro kind of highlighted. And again, everyone kind of gives it their own name and their own spin. At the end of the day, they're very, very, very similar. They're just discovering them in different victims of this type of attack. So something to keep in mind of there is these old systems. Criminals have sights on 4 different Microsoft vulnerabilities, according to CISA. Those 4 bugs are CVE 2024-38226, 4349001, 38014, and 38217. They're part of the 79 vulnerabilities released by Microsoft on Tuesday. So organizations need to prioritize these updates. Attackers are constantly evolving their techniques. Failure to patch could leave you exposed, obviously. Part of the attack chain appears that many experts say CVE 2024-4349001 appears to be the most concerning of the bunch because Microsoft gave it a severity score of 9.8 out of 10. On a closer look, they explained that Microsoft's description of the issue showed it affected a very specific version of Windows 10 released in July of 2015. All later versions of Windows 10s were not impacted by this vulnerability. All in all, you've got significant issues there with either Microsoft Publisher, Windows Installer, and Windows Mark of the Web. All of these require immediate attention. Criminals and state-sponsored hackers believed to be operating on behalf of the regime in Iran have targeted Iraqi government networks based on an analysis and an analysis of malware and infrastructure conducted by Checkpoint. There's very few reports describing cyber attacks launched by Iran against Iraqi targets, typically because after the war, we're on the heels of September 11th, but after, when we dethroned Saddam Hussein, we allowed the Iranians to come in, and in fact, all blood shed, pretty much most of the blood of American soldiers shed post the topplement of Saddam Hussein was sponsored by Iran. We've been in a shadow war with Iran since Iraq in 2003. That shadow war has now been going on for 21 years. We see that everywhere. Iran has its proxies: Iraq, Lebanon, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, everywhere else. Iran and Iraq share a border of nearly 1,000 miles. And again, Iran has a pretty decent grip. The majority of Iraqi population are Shia Muslims, which align with the Islam of Iran and the Ayatollahs. So it's really, really weird to see this type of campaign unless there's specific and various Iraqi entities that won't play ball with Iran that may be kind of slowly trying to disconnect from that influence. Iran's Ministry of Intelligence and Security has been targeting potentially those individuals with custom malware and infrastructure setup. Links found to do that as well. Iran's trying to deploy in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and other proxies, kind of the China model of controlling the infrastructure and investing in infrastructure in order to have land there as well. Beyond their nuclear program, they're really trying to expand their grip and isolate the Sunni majority Muslim countries there as well, and kind of surround them all in one way. The malware is likely being distributed through some social engineering techniques, and the targets open these files, and the malware is loaded on those devices where they're trying to get espionage information out of there. In Good Guys Prevail, 6 Chinese nationals and a Singaporean have been arrested in Singapore on Monday for their alleged role in malicious cyber activities committed in connection with a global syndicate. During the raid, police arrested 6 of the men and seized electronic devices with hacking tools installed and ready for carrying out cyber attacks. They've saw stolen PII and credentials for servers known to be controlled by the threat actors. The operation involved 160 officers of Singapore's police, intelligence agencies, and internal security department. The raid, which happened on September 9th, happened simultaneous at multiple residential locations across the island. A 7th man, a Chinese national, was arrested separately, according to national news sources. They also acquired almost $1.4 million in cash, $1,394,000 in cash and crypto have been seized by police. The criminals arrested is 42-year-old Chinese national Sun Jiao. He had credentials for hacker servers, 5 laptops, 6 phones, and 24,000 Singaporean dollars in cash, as well as 850,000 US dollars in crypto. 38-year-old Chinese national Zhang Quinn Q, was found in possession of unauthorized personal data, 2 laptops, 3 phones, and $52,000 in Singaporean cash. 35-year-old Chinese national Hung Q Zhang was found with hacking tools, 2 laptops, 4 phones, and only $2,600 in Singaporean dollars. 32-year-old Chinese national Lu Yuk, 38, he was seized with specialized software for controlling malware, 3 laptops, 4 phones, and no cash. 38-year-old Chinese national Yan Peijin was suspected of buying illegal personal data, had 1 laptop, 9 phones, and $465,000 in Singaporean dollars. And 34-year-old Singaporean Gu Shi-young, arrested for subscribing to 2 Singtel broadband plans for the three of the Chinese nationals. All in all, those guys are now off the battlefield. Google fitted a new backup storage vault feature in its new flagship cloud service to help protect organizations against ransomware attack. The new feature is promising immutable, preventing modification, and inedible backups, securing data backups against tampering for unauthorized deletion. So Google introducing a new product to help combat ransomware. That's it for our show this morning. We'll be back on Monday, 9 a.m. Eastern, live with all the latest and greatest. Please make sure to go subscribe on your favorite podcast listening platform. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Please share, like, comment. If you've got any stories, you can always drop those to us on X, LinkedIn, our website, or even through Substack. We also have a Proton mail that's available in the show notes. You can always drop mails there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend. And most importantly, y'all, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.